Good morning. Happy Wednesday, everyone. Welcome to Homebuilt Workshop. Welcome to Wednesday Live. What is going on? Make sure we're set correctly here. Welcome. Welcome. I hope this day finds all of you doing awesome as we settle in here for a little while of awesome hangout time. What's going on? Sam's here. Sam says hello. Good morning. Good afternoon, Sam. It's morning here, but I know it's not where you are. And Paul's here. Paul says hello, all. Good morning to you, Paul. How are you doing today? Dallo's here. Dallo, good morning. Dallo says good Wednesday. Right on. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. Cheers, everyone, and a good Wednesday morning. So what's everybody up to this fine Wednesday or Thursday, depending on where you live? And Robert's here. Good morning, Robert. Robert says howdy, everyone. Howdy, Robert. Right on. Good morning. Hope you all are doing awesome. Right on. Just making sure everything's good here. Nice. Alrighty. So yeah, what are you guys up to? What's everyone working on? Any projects? Projects on the bench? And Chris is here. Chris says good morning. Happy Wednesday. Good morning, Chris. How are you this fine Wednesday morning? And bam, look at that, right off the bat. Sam with the super chat towards your next coffee. Right on, Sam. I really appreciate that. Keeping the coffee cups stocked up. Right on. Thank you so much. Right on. Much appreciated. Let's see here. It started to scroll. Sorry about that. Senescence says 001 Thursday from Malaysia. Good morning. Well, good morning to you. Thanks for tuning in. Glad you're here. Right on. Sam said it's raining in the UK. Oh man. Well, that's better than snow, I guess. We have a little bit of snow lingering on the ground. A few days ago, we got I don't know, maybe 2 inches of snow. Wasn't really too much, but there's still a little bit here and there out there on the ground. But we haven't had rain here in months. Paul says working on segmented bowls, pens, and about to do my first spray finish on a guitar. Watched your video on the acoustic. I think I can do that. Where'd you get the buffing kit? Well, let's see. There's a lot there. First off, the bowls and pens are going to be cool. I'm looking forward to seeing how those segmented pieces turn out. And yeah, the spray finish, you can do it. It's honest. To be quite honest, spraying a finish, I think, feels more intimidating than it really is. There's some things to keep in mind and some things to that you kind of have to pay attention to, but especially if you don't have a lot of spray finish experience, and you might, Paul. I'm not saying you don't, but it does. There is a feel, in getting your spray gun set correctly, but you can do it. The cool part is if you're spraying a finish on a body, especially if you don't have, if you're just spraying it on the wood, and you don't have to worry about stain or dye or anything like that. If it gets messed up, it's really not a big deal to just sand it back down, to fix the areas that if you had an issue along the way, you don't have to worry about sanding through any dye and messing up the dye or anything like that. If it's just bare wood, I mean, it's not a big deal to fix, if you run into some sort of issue. So, where did I get the buffing kit? Um, these guys right here, these little guys. Now I don't know exactly which ones you're going to be looking for, but this 3-pad set, I got it from Auto Body Tool Mart. It's an online auto body supply store place. I think my local auto body supply store here in town has these. I can't remember why I didn't get it from them. I usually just try to get my stuff from them because they're local and I can just run down there, get what I need and get back here. But I do remember ordering these from Auto Body Tool Mart. Not sponsored. I'm not affiliated. I have no, interest in their company. But I've ordered several things from them. This is the kit right here. 3M30045 is the kit. It comes with all three. Might actually even come with 4. I can't remember. Yeah. So it came with this like wool pad, which is a little bit coarser. I don't use this. I start off with the white foam pad. So this thing I've never used, but it comes. I believe it came with all 4 of these pads. Yes. You can get it as a kit. You could also buy everything individually. But I ordered these from them, and that's where I picked up this polisher as well, from Auto Body Tool Mart. You can just look them up. I think it's autobodytoolmart.com maybe. Again, I'm not affiliated with them, but that's where I got these. The polishes, I don't have them out here because it was cold. I try to keep them inside. The polishes I did pick those up from my local auto body store. It was just more convenient. I think while I was waiting for these to be delivered, I could have ordered everything, but that's where I got them from. You can shop around if you're looking for these smaller size. They make them in different sizes. For the larger buffers and stuff. The same system, but I've had really good luck with these, especially on this little polisher, just because it's so handy. You can get into all the curves on the sides. It does get a little bit tricky on like a regular solid body guitar, Tele style or Strat style or something, right around the neck, right where you have the recesses of the horns, but you can still kind of get in there and it still does work. That's the only spot on a guitar body that's it gets a little tight. Everything else is a piece of cake, but again, you can still work it in there and get everything. So it's been working out good for me. I think it's a good alternative to a large floor standing buffer, which I would love to have, but there's no room. So I hope that helps, Paul. Maybe a little bit of a long-winded explanation, but Robert says, just playing Raid Shadow Legends and watching YouTube. I've never played that. Oh, I didn't even notice that, Robert. A little typo there. Two-tube. Sam says, do you think you may try making a twin neck guitar one day? Yes. Actually, that's been in the back of my mind for probably a year or two. Yeah, I probably will. Just, kind of for the novelty. But I just think it'd be kind of cool to have. It would probably be a lefty, something that I can probably keep myself. But maybe not. I don't know. Who knows? But yes, I do think that I will make one at some point. I think it'd be fun. Paul says, I've always finished by hand. Yeah, hand finishing, it works great, and it's pretty easy. I'm not saying this is easier, because it's not. There's extra things to do, but I do like I do like being able to spray the finish. I grew up with a little bit of a auto body background, sort of. My dad owns a painting company. Did a lot of work on cars and stuff for many years. Still does painting more on heavy equipment and stuff like that now. So I used to help him quite a bit. especially even when I was little, probably 10 years old or 8 years old or something like that. I remember being out in the garage helping him tape stuff off, and it wasn't until later on, in my teen years, early 20s, where I would actually get into helping him spray stuff. But it's kind of fun. I enjoy it. The tricky part for me is I don't have a spray booth or any sort of finishing booth, so I have to be, very careful with dust and things, and try to clean up as much as I can before spraying. But it can totally be done. You can do it, Paul. I know you can. Ken Max here says, good day from Toronto, Canada. Right on. Good morning, Ken. How's everything in Toronto? I've been to Toronto several times, probably 4 or 5 times. I grew up on the East Coast, north central Pennsylvania, so it wasn't really a very far drive, and this was before you had to have a passport, and we would just go up there sometimes. Go to Niagara Falls and stay on the Horseshoe Falls side. That was my favorite side to stay on. Still is, although I haven't been there. I can't remember when they started the passport thing, but it was the year before that. It was the last year I was there. But yeah, I've been to Toronto many times, and it was a cool city. Skoden Custom Lures is here too. Good morning. Good morning, Skoden. How are you this fine Wednesday morning? Sam says, I found out why you couldn't find that Vaunt tool company. It's part of another YouTube company called ITS. Interesting. I did find the I think it was their website. Maybe you sent a link. I can't remember. But I did, when you mentioned that, I did look that up. I probably still have the tab open on my phone. But the YouTube company, yeah, I know what you're saying. That's interesting. I'll have to look into that. Robert says, have you seen or heard any of the harp guitars? If you know how to play one, they sound great. Looks complicated to build, but you might think about building one. I've seen those, and they're pretty cool. I don't know if I'd build one or not. I have no clue how to play it, but they are neat. Yeah, they do look complicated. I agree with you 100% on that one. Paul's here. Paul's here. Yeah, we know Paul's here. Paul says, thanks, it does. Got a 6-inch Harbor Freight handheld buffer, plus a buffing grinder that runs at slow speeds. Guess it's time to use them. Yes, the slow speed is important. I mentioned it in the video. I should have showed the switch. I didn't. You see, I always think of things that I should have showed, and I guess that's how we get better, right? This has a switch. So it goes up to 2,800 RPM for buffing, but you can also switch it to a really fast speed, 8,300 RPM, and you can use this as a grinder. There's those little quick lock deals. I think that's what it's called. Let me find the thing. Comes with this little case. Oh, here it is. So those little quick lock sanding grinding discs you can put in here. This has a different attachment, so don't drop that pad on the floor. So this whole thing comes off, and you can put this little guy on there, and that lets you use those quick lock like sanding discs and grinding discs, and then you can switch it to the grinding speed and use it as a grinder thing, which is kind of cool. Kind of an alternative to the pneumatic version of it. I've not used it for that yet, although I would like to, because those quick lock discs are pretty cool. You can get them in all kinds of different attachments, Scotch-Brite pads, all kinds of stuff. But yeah, the speed is important. Being able to have it run at a slower speed when you're buffing really helps to keep the heat out of the piece, because if you get your piece too hot, you can melt the finish basically and kind of burn through it in an instant. and by keeping the speed slow, it really helps prevent that. Like I mentioned in the video, if you saw the video where I was buffing the acoustic, I would buff an area and then I would feel it with my hand, really just to keep to help me keep in mind the temperature. So if it doesn't feel too hot when I place my hand on it, I know I'm okay. But I try to check that a lot because you get distracted. You're buffing along and squirrel. Next thing you know, the piece is too hot and you've melted the finish and caused some sort of problem. So I try to just always have a feel for how hot it's getting. Okay, scrolling back up here. Robert says, of course, if you try building one of the harp guitars, you might need a bigger shop. I mean, yeah, maybe. There's a lot of things that if I tried building, I'd need a bigger shop. And Mike's here. Mike says, morning. Good morning, Mike Johnson. How are you this fine Wednesday morning? Sam says, not YouTube. Oh, tool company. Gotcha. I got you, Sam. Skoden says, doing well, thanks. Heading into Edmonton today to pick up a strap body to restore. Right on. Is it an actual strap body? Or like just a Strat style? That's cool. Robert says, to Skoden, have you shown Bill making lures on YouTube? If so, I may have watched some of your videos. I've watched a couple of YouTubers building them. Right on. Sam says, Samsung Auto is really doing a good one at screwing up words into non-understandable words. I had that issue happen the other day, sending a message or two, and just send something totally weird. I usually try to edit it as I'm typing, but sometimes I get in a hurry, and then I send some unintelligible gibberish. Dastardly Dave's here. Dave says, sup all. What's up, Dave? How are you doing this Wednesday morning? Hope you're doing good. Sam's not a fan of Samsung autocorrect. Yes, it's weird sometimes. Skoden says to Robert, not building, just painting. Yes, there are a few vids of painting the lures. Right on. And Donna's here. Donna says, good morning, Jeff. Good morning, Donna. How are you doing this Wednesday? Hope you're doing great. Robert says, oh, Tuesday, I did go through the seasoning process for a new wok I just bought. I need seasoning kind of like a cast iron skillet. Nice. That's cool. I guess they are. They're not like a coated. The real ones, are they? They're like a steel. Oh, that's cool. Skoden says, actual Strat. Nice. Robert's going to check them out. And Jimmer's here. Jimmer says, you're a popular guy. Well, I don't know about that, but what's going on, man? What are you up to this fine Wednesday morning? That's cool. Well, guys, I want to know what's on your workbench. You tell me what you're working on. We've heard a couple, and I'll tell you what I'm working on. I'm in a I don't know, a weird spot project-wise, which is kind of, I don't know. It's been a weird week. Let's just put it that way. Of course, you remember last week I was talking about how we had some vehicle trouble. We spent probably 4 or 5 days getting that sorted out. Vehicle shopping and all that sort of stuff. And so we got that sorted out. And I showed you the horseshoe knives that I was working on. It was last week or the week before. I can't quite remember. I think it was last week. Our farrier was supposed to come this week, and he was going to cook them in the forge while he was doing his farrier stuff. He had some. He's not going to be able to make it by due to some unfortunate circumstances for another week. So that project is it got put on hold through no fault of my own. But dang it. I was hoping to get that done for this weekend. So now I'm back on the acoustic guitar, which I was supposed to be back on the acoustic guitar over the weekend after I got everything polished. In a weird change of events, I got everything polished out. It was looking really good. And I was about ready to untape everything, start the assembly process, and I saw a little spot that I thought, I don't know if it was just a tiny little bit of a defect in the finish that I could still see. And I thought, well, let me just give this a little bit more sanding. I'll hit it again with the buffer. This is after I did the video. And I was inspecting it a little bit closer, and there was a little spot on the top. I'm like, well, I'll just hit it with some more 2000 real quick, rebuff that out. I went through the finish. On the top. I couldn't believe it. I should have just left it alone. But so I ended up having to respray the finish on the top. And it takes 120 hours, which I should have looked into this before. 120 hours to fully cure for the product that I'm using. 120 hours is, well, right about now from when I resprayed it. I'm like, oh, you've got to be kidding me. So I screwed it up, had to fix it, and now I've got to go back and re-level sand the top. This is after in the video where I had it all polished. One little speck that I thought I can do better than that. And yeah. But anyway, it's been fixed, and now I got to repolish the top, and then, which I'm going to do right after this. That was discouraging. So it's been a little bit of a stressful week, I would say. But anyway, that's where I'm at. So right now, all I have is the neck sitting out here. Really happy with that. Which, I mean, I showed it in the video, but so I got to respray the top. Now I get to rebuff the top. And then I can start on with the assembly. I should have just left the little spot alone, but it was bugging me. Once I noticed this little imperfection, barely, and you can't see it in the video, anything like that. But I think, if somebody's playing it, they would have noticed it. So between vehicle shopping, trying to figure out what we're doing with our broken vehicle shopping, the delay in the horseshoe knife, then the delay in the acoustic guitar. It feels like this last week has just been someone. But that's all right. We're just gonna keep moving. Robert says, likes, people, likes, please. Yeah, hit that thumbs up button, everyone. Tell the YouTubes that this is the coolest hangout ever. Jimmer says, inspection machine broken. Oh, that sounds like fun. And Nicholas is here. Nicholas says, ciao, Jeff. Hello, everybody from Italy. Right on. I was going to say good morning, but it's not morning. Good afternoon. Hope everything in Italy is doing great. I hope you're doing awesome. Right on. Glad you could tune in. Jimmer says, what did you decide? We picked up something different. We picked up another vehicle. Yeah, so far so good. It's after searching. So for those of you that don't know, a week ago we had our transmission went out in one of our vehicles, and the thing had 8,000 million miles on it, kind of deal. But the transmission went out, and so we ultimately decided to get something new to us. And so we've been shopping around, searching, within hundreds of miles from here, trying to find, I always want to try to find the best deal we can. And we ended up finding, I think, a pretty decent vehicle. It's literally one of those Sunday grocery getter cars that everybody's in search of. Very low mileage, especially for the year, and all service records and everything. So it was a pretty cool find. We had to go up to Denver to get it, but yeah. So I'll send you. I'll let you know what we ended up with. But yeah, it's yeah. I'm glad to be done with it. Let's just put it that way. Sam says, as a carpenter with a pretty decent workshop, how do you not have glass jars of odds and ends screwed under your shelving? That's what every American with a workshop has. LOL. That that method of storage, I believe, is from about a generation, maybe 2 generations ago. Not that people don't still do it, because I know they do. But I definitely don't see this as much. And Jimmer, you probably, I know you've seen it as well. I used to see my grandpa had those all over the place. Jars. I mean, and I still, honestly, I have jars, glass jars with things in it. This one has toothpicks that I use for little dowels, and I've got another one with Q-tips in there. And honestly, it works really well, especially, I should screw them up here. But it's not something you see as much. And I think that has to do with the frugality of generations before me, if that makes sense. My grandparents, like I said, my grandpa used to do that. He had all kinds of those jars all over the place. He grew up through the Great Depression, and there's a different mindset with people of those years, right? And I think maybe I could be way off on this, and if I am, I apologize. But people used to do things different. They used to think differently. They didn't think about running to the store and just buying a pack out container, from the store for whatever it costs, because it costs money. So in order to save money, they used what they had. They were very ingenious in that aspect. And I feel like some of that mindset, a lot of that mindset, to be quite honest, is gone. We think about things different. I still use the jars for a few things. I don't have them. I don't have them screwed up to the thing. I think it works really good. It's easy to just grab it and get what you need out of it. But there's a lot more options now for storing things, and we just don't use a lot of the old methods. There's absolutely nothing wrong with them, but I think that it comes from a different way of thinking, if that makes sense. Dallo says, beautiful neck. Thank you, Dallo. I'm happy. I'm happy with it. I'm not happy that I had to redo the top, but I'm happy with the way this turned out. Sam says, have you tried bacon wrapped sausages? We in the UK call pigs in a blanket. Different from the US version. I do like the US version, though. The US version is hot dogs in like a biscuit or a dough of some sort. Robert says, tough break with the guitar, but at least you caught it. And if you had not, it most likely would have bugged you later every time we noticed it. Hang in there, Jeff. It'll get better. Well, thank you, Robert. Yeah, you are absolutely correct, though. Had I chosen to leave it, I would have seen it. Even if nobody else noticed it, I would have seen this little spot and forever thought, man, I should have tried to do a little better on that. At least now I can't say that. I can say, yeah, I tried to fix it and had to respray it. But anyway, I don't like the saying, but it is what it is, right? It's how we improve. We just got to do stuff. And sometimes it causes us to do more work. Nicholas says, yep, it's 5 p.m. here. Right on. And Gina's here. Gina says, hi, all. I do love my new car. I'm glad you do. I still have headaches from searching for it. It says, bring the fashion back. You know, that's not a bad idea. Screw all these up here. Jim says, that old barn on Bird Creek, yes, that had a ton. You remember that? That was the other thing that was coming to mind. You know, my grandpa had them all over the place in his basement. But yes, that barn on Bird Creek had tons of those things screwed all over the place. One of the places I used to live growing up. It had a workshop in there, and it had tons of those glass jars screwed in everywhere, and it was from an earlier generation. The person that had used this barn, shop, whatever. Yeah. Also, I think about all the stuff, Jimmer, and that was in that barn, and like that I wish I had now. You know, at the time, what, 12, 14 years old, 14, something like that. I mean, I remember they had the big, you know, 2-man crosscut saws were on the wall, and all kinds of old stuff. There was, I don't even know what all was in there. But yeah, that's that place and my grandpa's basement is what comes to mind. Jimmer says, I still do it. Yeah, see? I just have them in jars. I just don't have them attached to stuff. But I don't have a whole lot in jars. I got, I don't know, 4 or 5 things stored in those jars. Robert says, yeah, my uncle grew up during the Depression as well, and he did not throw away anything. Yep. Yeah, it's just a different, you know, different way of life, really. You know, once you go through, you know, what they went through with the Depression, you know, I've just heard stories, right? I have no experience with that, but yeah, it changes your way of thinking. Donna says, yes, Sam. Yeah, bring it back. Paul says, I used to use baby food jars, but went to stackable storage bins because I felt like spending money. Well, that's what I mean, Paul, and I don't mean it in a negative, but we have other options now, right? And so some of them are fairly inexpensive, some of them are not, but yeah, but still, you know, even if you get something for a couple of bucks, you know, during the the Depression era, a couple of bucks, you know, might have been food for the month. I don't know, and a glass jar was free because you've already ate the food. Jimmer says, didn't one set rotate? Yeah, I remember that. There was a rotating, there was a whole bunch I remember. I feel like there was something kind of just above the bench, maybe? And then there was a rotating one. Yes, there was. Might have been 2. I can't remember if there was one on either side. But I think there was one on the right-hand side. Man, that's like digging back into the archives there. Robert says, kind of like Todd from Sweet Tea Guitars. He redid his current guitar 3 or 4 times because he saw something in it he did not like, but no one else would notice it. Yeah, it's just somebody else may not ever see it. But as the one who is trying to do, like I mentioned in a couple videos back, where I was talking about, you know, the luthier thing, we're trying to do the best work that we can. And even somebody else may not notice it, but if you know it's there, it just sticks there in your brain and you just can't stop thinking about it. So that's exactly the way this was for the acoustic, you know, trying to fix this one little spot that maybe nobody else would see, but every time I look at it, your eyes go right to it. So I feel a lot better now. It's a drag. I was hoping to have everything glued together at this point, so I could at least be holding it here with neck glued to bottom. To try to go the extra mile and fix the little thing, and yeah, now I'm behind. At least I feel like it. Probably not, but of course with the car shopping and all that stuff, I'm kind of probably behind anyway. But anyway, it's going to be better in the long run, and I'm not upset that I had to respray it. I'm a little annoyed that I had to respray it, but anyway, it's fine.
Jimmer says, I use glass a lot for chemicals, more resistant than plastic. Yes, I do have some, where are they? I do have some stuff in plastic that I'm noticing that it's degrading a little bit, and glass does work a lot better. But yeah, it's just where are those things? I've got a couple more of those glass jars with stuff in it I was going to try to find, but I don't know where it is at the moment. I've found that these little these are like pesto sauce. These little size containers I think are really good for things. They're a little bigger than like a baby food jar, but at least I think they are. But it's kind of been a really neat little size. I've got, I don't know, probably half a dozen of these stored around here. Sam says, perhaps try upcycling furniture from yard sales to bring new life to an old piece of furniture. I have thought about that. I've seen a lot of really cool transformations, you know, with stuff like that, and it's not a bad idea. And unfortunately, here now we're past most of the yard sale season, but yeah, maybe next spring when everybody starts having yard sales again. Gina says he's so picky. But that's why his finished products are top notch. Well, thank you. And you have to be picky, right? When you're if you're the one building it, you don't want to try to put something out there that when you look at it, you see all these flaws. I mean, you're going to see enough anyway. I'm sure I can look at this and find flaws that you know, maybe others might not see, but it's just, you know, oh, sorry, I just hit the microphone. You know, it's my goal to do the best work that we can do. Yeah. So you have to be picky. Robert says, sound went goofy when you raised your arms. It started clicking and volume went up. I wonder why it would click. Huh. I'm still experimenting with this, trying to figure out, you know, the best placement. I did shoot a quick video yesterday. I want to put it up this weekend. It's not a project video or anything. It's really just kind of some updates, you know, talking about, you know, where we're at on things. And so, and I'm using this, you know, just trying to get a better feel for it when I'm shooting it, or when I'm shooting with the camera and using this, just trying to, before we actually jump in and use it for projects. So I appreciate the feedback, like, you know, it does a weird noise when you do this, because like I said, I'm trying to really understand it a little more. Brian says, hello, Jeff and everyone. I hope you're all well. I wanted to hop on and say hi. While on the bus to, I'm going to say that wrong, Reykjavik, I think it is. I'm sorry if I mispronounced it. Visiting my daughter's final exhibition for college. Oh, that would be cool. That's one place that I would not mind going. Iceland. It just sounds cool. All the off-road racing that they do there, you know, the off-road cars, it looks so cool. I'd love to go to one of them. Right on, Brian. Reykjavik. I think that's how you say it. Please tell me if that's correct or not. But right on, Brian. Well, enjoy your time in Iceland. That's awesome. Right on. Sam says, YouTube advertising screwed the stream, forced me to refresh, and replayed the stream from the beginning. What? Had to refresh a second time. Oh, boy. Mike says, I'm agreeing with Gina. Right on. Yeah, I don't disagree with her at all. I mean, I have to be picky, I guess. Gina says you never have to defend your pickiness. Paul says, if you can't deliver the customer a top-notch product, then I fail. I make everything as if I'm making it for myself. Well said, Paul. That is, you are spot on. Especially, you know, if you have the mindset of, I'm gonna try to play this out a little bit. I don't know how this is gonna work, but I'm just gonna use the acoustic guitar. Maybe I spotted a little defect in there. Very hard to see, you know, under the right light kind of thing. And I just said, that's fine. And let's say if this was going to a customer, and I sent it off to the customer. I don't know, you know, especially if it's just a random customer. You don't know, you know, do they have a trained eye? You don't know what their skill level or knowledge level, or you don't really know much about them. You know, they may inspect these things just like we do, or they may not care. But I don't ever want someone to say, hey, I noticed this thing in the finish, or whatever it is, right? Especially if it's something that I knew about. That would be terrible, I think, to go, oh, yeah, I saw that. I didn't try to fix it. I just didn't think you'd notice, you know. I could never try to let something like that, you know, slip by. If it's something I truly didn't notice, that, you know, that's totally different. But to know it's there and knowingly send it along, I just couldn't do that. I couldn't. Even this one, I'm not 100% sure yet if it's going to go up for sale or what. But there's no way I couldn't leave this little thing without trying to make it better. And now it's better, but it cost me 5 days of drying time. 5 more days of drying time. So yeah, you're absolutely right, Paul. I wouldn't want it on there if it was mine. I sure don't want it on there if it's for a customer. Robert says, sounds good now. Oh, good. I don't know what the deal was with that. Paul says, did the volcano in Iceland ever calm down? It was all over the news a week ago, but haven't heard much since. Interesting. Robert said to Sam, I had to do the refresh as well, but it's working okay now. Brian says, the pronunciation is correct. I'm shaping my first neck in the shop. Seems to be going well. I hope the final product comes out nice. Oh, right on. First off, I'm glad I said that correctly. I think that comes from watching some of that off-road racing. I forget what they call that. The Icelandic. If you guys haven't seen it, you gotta. Ooh, excuse me, I almost choked on my coffee. If you guys haven't seen that Icelandic off-road stuff, you gotta look it up. It is insane. Where they're like going straight up these, it looks to me like volcanic sandy dirt stuff, and it's just incredible. And Brian, I am sure that your neck's going to turn out just fine. Don't let it intimidate you. You show that neck who's boss. Just go slow. You know, make sure you follow your measurements. You know, at different intervals. You know, I usually measure at the 1st and the 12th, and make sure it's even in between. Some people measure more thorough throughout the fretboard. I just shoot for a certain dimension at the 1st, a certain dimension at the 12th, and then make sure everything's even there. Just go slow and steady. You got this, man. It's gonna be awesome. Jimmer says it's called the conscience. Yes, it is. You know, it's just one of those things that, you know, I mean, it's the same with your profession. You know, oh yeah, I noticed that leak, but I didn't worry about it. And, you know, and now the customer brings it back. Same sort of thing. We try to do what's right, and, you know, do everything correctly. Sam says, understandable that the adverts pay for the YouTube streaming, but has anyone noticed that since the bombardment of adverts, there's a lot more issues with YouTube now? I haven't noticed issues, but I have noticed the changes in the ads. But I haven't noticed issues myself. That's interesting. Jimmer says, I like to sleep at night too. Yeah. Yeah, you can go to bed at night knowing that you did whatever the job is to the best of your ability, even in my case, if it means having to respray a finish and waiting now 5 days. Because I did look up the information on the finish. It takes 120 hours to fully cure. So I didn't need to wait 2 weeks. I did wait 2 weeks, but I could have waited 5 days instead of 2 weeks. But now I know. So my 5 days is up. Actually, what is it? It's almost 10. Yeah, right about now. My 5 days are up. Brian says, to Paul, the volcano is still going, and it's caused the Blue Lagoon to be closed for a while. They are reevaluating to reopen. Interesting. Dallas says, it makes you get tired, but that's what professional attitude does. Yeah. Well said, yeah. Robert says, have you seen the driving the buggies out across ponds? That's nuts. Yes. Like for the Icelandic off-road stuff, it's incredible. Especially when they do their, I forget what the course is called, but they'll have, you know, just like this little lap, and it usually goes across some sort of water, and they just like floor it, and it just skates across the, it's amazing, and it's awesome to watch. The car sounds so cool. I'd love to drive one of them. They got giant paddle tires on them. You got to look it up if you haven't seen it. Brian, have you ever been able to attend any of those while you're over there? That would just be amazing. Sam says, with the morning weather, you might want to try the bacon buddy in the morning with ketchup. I would love to. I just haven't done it. I was slacking. It's been a busy week since we last hung out. With most of the time spent car shopping and all that sort of thing, and acoustic repairs, and I was really hoping to be able to get the horseshoe knives done for this weekend. What do you do? That's the downside of when you have to rely on someone else for help. Which I say that as a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's just, you know, if you're counting on somebody else to help you with something, it's out of your control. But it is reinforcing the fact that I need to get my own forge. So I might have to try to find one at some point once I'm recovered from buying a new car. Not new, buying a different car. Sam says 6 in the UK right now. 6 degrees, 6 degrees. Well, man, that's like what, 38 Fahrenheit? That's not too bad. Robert says, I don't think ads should be allowed to go during the live stream. When the stream is viewed after it's finished, that's okay. I agree, Robert. I think that, yes, if it's live, people are, you know, engaged and all that stuff, yeah, let it play. On the replays, absolutely, but I don't get to make the rules, unfortunately, for that, so it is what it is. I hate that saying. Brian says, I have not gone to one. I'll look into it. Have you seen it though, Brian? It's nuts. Henry's here. Henry says, morning. I'm all for doing everything myself, but it gets me in trouble when I switch hobbies so much. Henry, I'm with you. You know, I like to try all sorts of different things. You know, not just woodworking, not just guitar building. You know, I like to try to throw in a little of everything. I mean, you know, if I think back of lots of the different projects I've done on the channel throughout the years, I mean, welding and metalworking, I built a computer. I've done that a few times. Guitars, leatherwork. I mean, a canoe paddle? Just, excuse me, just so many different things. Jimmer says, could you imagine us trying the snowmobile flying across water? If we saw that when we were kids? Yeah, that's insane too. And yeah, we totally could have done that. Sam says, Robert, I agree. I agree with you too. Henry says, as for the forge, check out Kilroy's in the Springs. It's a blacksmith makerspace. I had a blacksmith make me a holdfast from there. Yes, Henry, I am aware of Kilroy's. Before they were at their Springs location, they used to be out here in Falcon. They were in one of the hangars at the airport. And when they were in there, I got the opportunity to go over there, you know, and check out the workshop, meet Ron. Ron is the owner. He's also been on Forged in Fire and all that. But yeah, I got to meet him over there and check out some of the stuff and meet several of the students that were there working on their knives. And it's super awesome. I have yet to be down to the new location. I should really go down there and see. Check out the new space. But yes, awesome stuff. And they've really expanded since they moved into their new location too, from what they had here at the airport hangar. Gina says, Jeff turned his hobbies into his job. LOL. He's never been happier. Yeah, well said. Henry says, also, there's Denver Tool Library you can rent tools from if you're ever up north. I've heard of that. I've heard several people mention it in some of the different groups that I'm in, the Denver Tool Library. I'll have to check that out. Robert says, I don't see ads while watching the stream, but if I have to refresh, it does throw ads that I either have to skip or wait until it's played. Paul says, Kilroy was here. I think that's where that sort of comes from, his name in there. Yeah, same kind of thing. Sam says, shout out to the awesome mods. Yes, shout out, huge shout out. We got Gina in here right now. Neptunes, I don't believe, could make it today. Neptunes helps us out with the mod stuff, which really, you know what? I want to give a shout out to all of you guys. To everyone that has ever tuned into one of these live streams. I think it's very, very rare, if ever, that we've had to do any sort of serious type mod work, right, in these lives. I've been on some where, you know, well, not my lives, but I've seen other instances where, you know, people are misbehaving and, you know, the mods really have to be taking care of stuff. We don't have to do that here. And for that, thank you guys, because what an awesome group. You know, nobody gets mad at each other. Not that I've ever seen anyway. And it's just awesome. So thank you for, one, not only joining in on the lives, but two, for just being an awesome group. And you know, there's like zero moderation of these lives for the most part that needs to be done. So thank you. Jimmer says, Jeff could not do it without you, Gina. That is very correct. Very true. I could not do it myself. Sam says, would you consider teaching younger people some valuable woodworking skills in the community? Yeah, I would. I wouldn't be against that whatsoever. I would teach anybody whatever I could possibly teach. You know, skills like this, you know, just like fixing and repairing and, you know, making something when you need it. It's something that I always try to show my daughter as well. You know, something will break and we can just go, we'll just glue it. I mean, and she's gotten to that point now in a lot of cases where something will happen, you know, something will break and, oh, guess we got to glue this, and, you know, instead of, we'll throw it away and buy a new one. And, but yeah, just, you know, it's a set of skills that, unfortunately, it used to be taught in schools, right? And, you know, like when Jimmer and I were in school, we had all these classes, you know, woodworking and metalworking and all kinds of stuff. A lot of schools don't have that anymore. And, you know, if there's ever an opportunity where I can share, I'm all for it. And look who's here. It's Harry Dude. Harry Dude says, what's up? I made it right at the end. Just got home from working on site. Right on, Harry dude. I'm glad you made it. I'm glad you made it home safe and made it to the live. Robert says, we may be a tiny group, but we are well behaved, LOL. It's always best and refreshing not having to deal with people that have attitudes. Yes. Yes. I definitely would not look forward to these things, because I do. I look forward every week to the live and, and just hanging out and visiting with everyone, talking about the projects and everything that we do. If I had to deal with, like you said, the attitudes or whatever, or, do a lot of moderation along the way, it would surely make this nowhere near as enjoyable as it is. This is one of the very few times where I just sit down for an hour, sitting on a stool, sipping on my cup of coffee. There's a short period of time when I first wake up, I'll sit and drink a cup or two of coffee, and that's literally about it for the day, except for these Wednesdays, where I'll sit here and we're hanging out, and I'm not like, oh, I need to be off doing something else, because so yeah, it's just awesome. And I really do look forward to these lives and hanging out with all of you. Dallas says, yes, I do appreciate to learn many tips and skills from the live stream. That's awesome, Dallo. I'm glad. And that's exactly what, that's exactly my goal for these. I've seen some live streams where, someone will have a topic and they're talking about a certain particular thing, but I don't see anything wrong with that. But I just like to keep it as completely open. And, if there's a question, like I've said before, it doesn't matter, any sort of shop, throw it out there. We could be talking about guitars and you got a question about a car, or, some open conversation. Because collectively, if I am not familiar with a certain topic, chances are one of us here is going to have some insight on whatever that is. And that's where the real, that's where it gets really cool, because it's a pool of knowledge. Henry says, I didn't grow up with wood shop or metal shop in my school, so I learned a lot from you, Jeff. Well, thank you, Henry. That's awesome. Yes, I wish that schools had the classes that we had. When I think back to school, I don't know how many different years I took wood shop. Probably 4 or 5 years, maybe somewhere in there. But we had metal shop. I had a welding class, and these are all separate classes. So woodworking, welding, metal shop. I took an electronics class. Jimmer, did you take the electronics class at Broadway, where we made the little electric motor? That was always kind of fun. I had a small engine shop, a class. It was a whole semester fixing like lawnmower engines and stuff. Trying to think what other ones we had. But I took every single shop class that I could take. Robert says, I really think schools should have programs with our music and shop classes. It really helps young people learn how to solve problems and be creative. That should be art, not R. Oh, gotcha. Yeah, music, art, and shop. Yes, I took all those. Well, not every single music one, but yes, I know what you mean. I wasn't in band or anything, but I did take all the music classes. Sam says, does anyone remember the school metal workshop days where the lathe chuck key shot across the shop floor from an accidental lathe start without removing the key? I don't recall that ever happening, but I've heard stories. Jimmer says, I just want to interact with an old friend. Well, I do too. I do too. Brian says, thanks for everything, Jeff and everyone. I appreciate the encouragement and tips. Take care, stay safe, and happy holidays. Same to you, Brian. Enjoy your time in Reykjavik. Still feel like I'm saying that wrong, but that's awesome. Be safe on your travels. and have an awesome time, Brian. Jimmer says, I too know nothing. Gina says, happy holidays, Brian. Sam says, be safe, Brian. Right on. Robert says, some of the schools in Oklahoma that have FFA still offer welding. My school, yes, I went to FFA classes as well. But yes, we had FFA welding and like all that stuff. It was actually their same instructor. Our FFA instructor was also the small engine teacher, the welding teacher, the metal shop teacher. Seems though there was something else too. I can't remember. I don't think he was the wood shop teacher because that was in a separate area. Harry Dude says, I did woodworking for 2 years in high school. They wouldn't let us use nails for a year and a half. What? They didn't trust us with nails. But let us use a drill press and bench sander. Interesting. Got to be careful with those nails. Jimmer says, yes, electronics, small engine, engineering, architecture, wood, metal. Oh, you know what? Now that you mention that, I might have taken, I feel like the architectural class rings a bell. Was that at Broadway? Seems though I remember something about that, but not really. Jimmer says, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, Jimmer. And Merry Christmas, everyone. It's only, what, 2 weeks away? Week and a half, actually. Wow, it's crazy. Robert says, I heard of a wooden bowl that came off a lathe, went up the wall halfway across the ceiling before dropping back down to the floor. I could imagine. Spinning around, woo! Sam says, do you use the glue and sawdust trick on projects? Not very much. I don't consider it a trick because I don't like the way it looks, to be quite honest. Does it fill gaps? Yes. Does it look correct? In my opinion, no. A lot of times it does not dry. In my experience, it doesn't dry the same color. So I try to avoid stuff like that at all costs. It does fill gaps. It does work. It's just not my preferred method. I'd rather try to use something that I can make either less visible or at least match a little bit better than the glue and sawdust. It depends on the project, really. I have used it before, you know, and if it depends on where it is on the project and what exactly, I don't know. It can work in a pinch, but it's not my favorite. Let's just leave it at that. Jim says Southside. And architecture? Did we take architecture together? I sort of remember that now that you mention that. Something about it. But I was only there for 2 years, so pretty sure the electronics was Broadway. I can't remember. I'd have to go back and try to find stuff. Dallas says, dark one was okay, but bright wood like spruce, it was messed up. Yes. Yes. Good point, Dallo. It depends on the wood species too. Some it does work much better on. You know, there's several different methods to fill gaps that I would use. You know, of course, if it's something that you're painting, it really doesn't matter, right? You can fill it with whatever works, but the species matters. You know, sometimes I'd rather sand and get dust in there. You know, sometimes you can soak in some CA glue, super glue, and that sometimes works. I mean, there's just a ton of different ways. The sawdust, super glue, it all depends. Sometimes it may be the right choice, but sometimes maybe it might not match as well as you might want. But Paul says, "Gotta go. Have a great week, everyone." Yeah, I probably need to get to wrapping this up. I gotta get back to repolishing the top of the acoustic so that we can get back to progress on that thing. Sam says, "Stream has been awesome. Thank you, Jeff. Legend." Thank you, Sam. Robert says, "My shop classes in the last couple of years, the first half of the semester we had drafting, and once we got out of that, we could do wood shop. You know, it seems as though we had something like that, drafting. That may have been what I'm thinking of. I don't remember exactly. Sam says, be safe, everyone, and have a wonderful Christmas. Jimmer says, electronics, Broadway, architecture, South Side, photography was an option too. Yeah, I never took photography. I do remember the electronics. We made the electric motors where you had to wind the coils and everything. I remember doing that. And I also remember making, I think it was like the telephone jack tester. Did you make that? You remember that thing? I wish I knew where that was, because I remember that it actually worked. Harry Dude says, cheers folks, stay well, catch you next week. Robert says, everyone stay safe and healthy. Yeah, next week will be the last live, at least before Christmas. So if you got any Christmas shopping to get done, you still got time. Don't worry. So anyway, guys, thank you. Thanks for tuning in. Always my pleasure to hang out with all of you. And it's the highlight of my Wednesday, every Wednesday. So and we'll be doing it again. I don't plan to skip any Wednesdays. Christmas is on a Monday, so we'll hit every Wednesday, and I'm not planning at the moment to miss any. So we'll see you next Wednesday. Right on, everyone. Thanks again. Stay safe, stay well. Merry Christmas if we don't get to talk next week, and we will see you soon. Sorry, I was reading comments and trying to think at the same time. Sam says, thanks again, mods, for your time today. Dallas says, have a good week, all. Gina says, bye, all. Have a great weekend. Jimmer says, yes, you are correct. Boom, right on. Cool. Anyway, everybody, have an awesome week. Get on your shops, make some cool things, teach some skills to somebody who needs to learn them. So, there's Harry Dude, the dreaded button. I'm telling you, I don't understand what it is. But anyway, guys, I'm going to get out of here. I got polishing to do. Have an awesome week. Stay safe, stay well, and we'll see you next time. Here goes the button. Later, everybody. Oh, is it going to work? Come on, button. Come on, you can do it.